Alright guys, this is the second part of chapter 11. This is lecture number 2, and today we're going to be talking about supplies, delivery, and biomechanics. So with this section of the chapter, during this lecture, we need to be able to do the following related to supplies in the medical office. We need to discuss the elements of an inventory list the steps involved in completing an inventory, performing an inventory with documentation, and then preparing a supply order as well. We'll also describe how the healthcare facility utilizes the United States Postal Service and other delivery agencies, and then of course the use of proper body mechanics when doing all of these tasks. So medical assistants need to ensure the practice has enough supplies to treat different patients, and they need to be both administrative and clinical supplies, and you might be in charge of taking inventory of all of it. So some of the supplies that you might have to take inventory of are things such as pens, paper, envelopes, paper clips, those types of things, but then you might get into the clinical side and have to take some inventory of bandages, vaccines, medications, slings, and splints even. So it's important to be able to know the difference between administrative and clinical, but be able to take inventory of all of it. So inventory management. So if you look on page 184 in your textbook under procedure 11-3, you'll see it will explain to you how to create a supply inventory list by using a spreadsheet, and that's an excellent tool to refer to. You need to be fluent in Excel, Microsoft Excel, so that practicing along with that would be an excellent choice. But inventory management, okay, it's ordering, tracking inventory, and identifying the quantity of the product that you need to purchase. All right, and the goal of inventory management is to have adequate supplies, yet not to have too much of something. And the medical assistant in charge of ordering and managing supplies must keep a record of each item in the inventory. So it's important to be able to go through, understand that, and then keep that stock at the optimal amount. So this could be something that you'll see. So this figure, which is 11-7, which I believe, if you want to look in your textbook, is on page 183. It might be a little bit easier for you to see there. But this basically is a supply inventory list that shows details for items in an inventory. For efficiency, use 2 extra columns just in case, for stock available, and then to order as well. So if you look here, and we do have stock inventory items here for your assignment that you're going to need to be doing. But for example, you have non-sterile gauze sponges that are 8-ply. The size is 2x2. The quantity is 100 per package. You get the item number there. Then you have your supplier's name, the reorder point. Now what I mean by reorder point is when you get down to that number, you need to reorder, okay? The quantity that you need to reorder will then tell you how many. When you get to that reorder point, that is how many you have to reorder. Puts your cost per package there. Your stock available, that's where you write the number that you currently have on hand, and then order. The order side column is where you would check off if you've placed that order for that particular item. So it's important to know, to be able to navigate through that, and then to be able to use it as well. So for each inventory item, the medical assistant should record. So we saw the list, but you need to be able to record these ones. The item details. Okay, item details can include the name, the size, the quantity, the item number, the supplier's name, and the cost of that. The quantity to reorder, I talked about this a little bit last slide, but the quantity to reorder depends on the amount of product used per buying cycle. And then to reorder point, and that's when the quantity of an item gets to a specific number, indicate that it needs to be reordered. So like I said, that last one, the reorder point was 5. Once you get down to 5 units left to be available, then you need to reorder at that point. And that's all that means there. So inventory control systems. Now there's different ways to take inventory in different settings. Large medical facilities may use computerized controlled systems, while smaller facilities may utilize simple computerized or even manual systems. Barcodes can be used to track inventory, more so in like the larger medical facilities. For barcodes to work successfully, the staff must be diligent in scanning barcodes when taking product from a stock. So basically what this does is whenever you take an item off, whether it's a bandage, a splint, a sling, a ream of paper even, has a barcode on it, you scan the barcode when you take that item to use it, and that lets the computer system know that there's no longer that item in the inventory, so that number will go down. So here are some common manual systems that are used in smaller facilities like we talked about. So basically when staff identify that a product needs to be ordered, the item is written in a log. That is one of the most simplest ones. You're low on it, it needs to be ordered, let's write it down and order some more. You can have two product identification slips, and then a two-bin system. Now what I mean by a two-bin system, it's basically a system that consists of having a main bin for each item in the inventory, and then a backup bin for each. Once you use that in the main item bin, and you are into that reserve item or backup item bin, then it's time to reorder. And then your medical assistant responsible for ordering performs a hand count of the items in stock. So basically another way is just to go count them, see how many there are, and then reorder as much as you need. Of course, the most efficient ones are going to be your computerized ones. Maybe the barcode one will be extremely efficient in your practice or in your hospital setting, depending on where you work. But again, it's going to vary based upon the type of clinic and the setting that you find yourself employed at. So taking inventory. When performing an inventory in a medical practice, a medical assistant, you should work in a systematic manner. Okay? You don't want to go all over the place and do this and do that and do that. You want to go in a specific order to help keep track of everything. Taking inventory at periodic times is critical. Okay? You don't want to wait too long in between each inventory because that might deplete your supplies, or you don't want to do it every day because you might not use a lot of supplies during that day. So one of the most frequent errors is to report a different quantity than what is on the supply inventory list, spreadsheet, or cards. So, being efficient and being able to correctly count how many items you have there is important. To be most efficient when performing an inventory count, the medical assistant should utilize a supply inventory list, which we've talked about already. Price consideration when ordering supplies, okay? Price comparison shopping is important, yet it takes a lot of time. All right, you want to buy the product that is most efficient for your office to use. You don't want to buy anything that is too expensive, but you don't want to buy the most inexpensive thing because it might not be the greatest quality. So you want to shop around, compare your prices, and buy the one that suits your practice the most. Some medical offices compare prices every 6 to 12 months. All right, and some quantity discounts are a way to save money. So the more you buy, the more money you save, and that is a great way to save some money. Some medical facilities join purchasing organizations, which are also known as GPOs, and physician buying groups, or PBGs, offer providers favorable prices for vaccines. However, the provider must only use vaccines from contracted manufacturers, so it might not have all the vaccines you need or a specific brand. Ordering supplies. So if the medical practice does not join a GPO, which we just talked about, medical assistants identify a couple of vendors from which to purchase supplies. So if you're not part of a GPO, you get to kind of choose where you want to order your supplies from. Many medical and business supplies companies print catalogs only once or twice a year. Most generally, nowadays, it's all up online. You can get on and check out their catalogs and order right from there. Like I said, the website show all products available with most updated prices, so it's easy. It's the most efficient way to shop around is to get online and look at the websites. So some medical facilities utilize purchase order numbers, so just keep that in mind. And if you look on page 186 in your textbook on procedure 1.4, it shows you how to create a purchase order, and we will actually work on that for part of your homework. And sometimes the payment terms may vary the payment terms will vary between suppliers. So some suppliers may want the cash up front, some might send you a bill for it, or a payment. You guys might have a payment plan or a credit line set up through the vendor. So it's really going to vary based upon each vendor. So now you've placed the order, or you've taken the count, you've done your inventory, you've filled out the purchase order, you've placed your order. Now the order comes in and you receive it. So orders can arrive via the mail, or the National Delivery Service, FedEx, USPS, which is our United States Postal Service, or the United Parcel Service, which is UPS, or any other local delivery service. And the medical assistant must check delivery as soon as possible. So as soon as you get that delivery into your office, it's important to check it. Some medications may need to immediately be placed in the refrigerator or freezer, so it's important to get in there, see what's in the package, and then put it where it needs to be. Storage information on these different types of medications can be found in the package insert or on the manufacturer's website. It's important that you keep your vaccines and medications stored properly. And if you look on page 187 on the top of your page right there, there is a vaccine storage guideline just to kind of give you an idea about different types of medications and how to handle them. So for all orders, the first thing you should do is remove the packaging slip and compare all of the items on the list to what's actually in the package, and make sure that what they're saying they sent you is exactly what they sent you. So check to make sure all items are received, and then note any discrepancies. So if they said they sent you 5 reams of paper and you only received 4, note that discrepancy, and then you can make a contact to that vendor. The packaging slip should be attached to a copy of the order as well. So in a line of credit, if a line of credit was used, place a copy of that order with the attached packing slips into the accounts payable folder, and then wait for the invoice's arrival. So basically that is saying if you bought these items with a credit card and they haven't sent you your bill yet, all you do is you take that invoice and you take that purchase order, the packing slip, and you store it away into the accounts payable until the bill comes in. That way you can make sure they line up and pay it then. Items received should be put away as soon as possible, and then of course discard the boxes. And it's important that you use the older stock first, so you always want to face the shelves, pull the older stock to the front, put the new stuff that just came in behind it, so that you always use the older stuff up and nothing is just sitting on the shelf for years and years, not getting used, because you're always reusing the new stuff. So always use the older stuff first. So that kind of leads our way into handling mail and mailing procedures. So a medical assistant's role will have varying responsibilities with mail. Okay. If the healthcare facility is large, there may be an employee hired to prepare mail for the United States Postal Service and other shipping services as well. So when a large healthcare facility hires out mail preparation, those employees will also sort incoming mail. So they're not just going to be working with sorting and getting outgoing mail ready, they'll also handle and sort incoming mail and get it to their proper person that they need. If the healthcare facility is small, the medical assistant is responsible for handling all mail duties. So it's important to be able to understand this because, a lot of times you will work in a small independent practice. So knowing how to handle mail and the proper classes and special services that they offer is important to know as well. So first off, we're going to talk about the United States Postal Service, okay, or the USPS. So basically, it's an independent branch of the federal government. Let me find that here. I'm on the wrong page. Yes, it's an independent branch of the federal government that handles domestic and international mail services. So they send mail within the United States, but they can also send international mail. Okay, international mail includes mail sent from a foreign country, or to a foreign country. And the majority of the mail sent by healthcare facility is going to be domestic. There will be rare times you might send things international mail. All right, so the price of your postage and the price of a letter or a box or a package is going to be dependent on a few different things, and that can be the weight and the size of an item. Sending a regular letter via mail is going to be cheaper than sending, a box through mail. The urgency of the arrival. Do you need it to arrive overnight, or can it go through standard shipping process? The delivery zone, and then the services required as well. So it's important to know all these things, and then if you're preparing mail to be sent, you'll need to address the envelopes and packages according to the USPS guidelines, which we talked about, I believe, in Chapter 8 in written communication there. So it's important to be able to relate back to those and be able to implement those in this section as well. If you look on page 188 in your textbook, you'll see this chart, this table, and it says it's the United States Postal Service domestic shipping sizes. All right, so you can kind of see where each category is. A postcard is like 3.5 inches to 3.5 inches high by 5 inches wide. So it's just like a little card. Your letter, you can see, goes up a little bit in size. Your larger envelopes are of course going to go up, and then you have your packages, which has 108 inches of girth that can be measured all the way around. The next chart here is again on page 188 in your textbooks, and this one is a little bit more important than the other one. And this is a summary of all the United States Postal Service's domestic services. So these are different classes of mail. All right, and it's important to know the differences because they will be on your CMAA exam. So medical assistants will utilize different types of mail services for the healthcare facilities business, and it's important to understand the differences between each service. So your priority mail express, it's very expensive. Okay, it's very expensive, and it's 7 days a week delivery service. So they even deliver on Sundays with a guaranteed overnight scheduled delivery, and insurance is included with your priority mail express. If you just have priority mail, it's a little bit less expensive than your priority mail express, but it's still an expensive service. And its delivery is usually done within 3 days, and your insurance is included in there. First class mail. Now this is your most commonly used mail. All right, its cost is based on the size, shape, and weight of your envelope or package, and add-on services are available for extra fees, which we will talk about a little bit later on. And then you have your standard post, which is used for oversized packages, and its delivery is usually within 2 to 8 days. And then you have your media mail, and that's used for something like sending books and educational materials, and those will deliver within 2 to 8 days as well. So that's important to know the different types of classes of mail and what each one is used for. So insurance and additional services, okay? Now this is really important. So we now know that the most common class of mail that we use in a healthcare facility is first class mail. All right, but you will still use some additional insurance and add-on services as well. So the USPS has a host of optional services that can be added onto the standard services for an additional fee. If you look on table 11-3 on page 190, let me get there, you will see the optional services provided by USPS. It's important, guys. That one is super important, and I know it's not on the slide, and it should be. Okay, look over that, understand the different types of classes of mail and additional services that they offer, because you do need to know them. And here are a couple that we'll just highlight from that table. Standard insurance option can be added to the postage to insure against loss or damage. Basically, if anything happens to that package, you will be refunded the price of it. Registered mail can be added to first class or priority mail, and basically what registered mail does is it makes them sign for the letter, and it will send you a receipt as well. Certified mail is also available for first class. So registered mail is used to protect expensive items. A mailing receipt is given upon request on electronic verification of delivery can be sent as well. With certified mail, it's a mailing receipt provides evidence that the letter was mailed, and the return receipt shows that the delivery of the information and the recipient's signature. So that one is super important, guys. Certified mail is extremely important in our facility because we have to make sure that we are relaying information to our patients and doing everything in our power legally to treat that. So for any reason, if you have to send a letter stating concern for their health, or a letter saying that you were going to be no longer serving them as a patient, okay, those types of big letters need to be sent via certified mail, because you need to have legal proof that the patient, one, it was sent to the patient, and then two, that the patient actually received that mail. Because if you were ever taken to court and they say, hey, Dr. Jones just stopped treating me and never followed up and made any arrangements with me, if you have that certified mail receipt and you show that you sent it, that they received it, then you've covered yourself in court, and you've done everything legally and ethically as well. So it's really important to know these different types of additional services for mail, guys. So certified mail, sorry I skipped a slide here again on my, maybe I didn't, okay? But these are just the different types of things that you will have to fill out in order to obtain or send certified mail. So basically the sender has to print their name here, and in order to submit this that way that it will go through as certified mail, and that's what it appears like. So insurance and add-on ones here. Okay, so like I said, if you look on table 1.3, you'll get this as well. So signature with signature confirmation can be added to first class priority or media mail. And with restricted delivery service and adult signature or restricted delivery service, the mailed item can only be delivered to the addressee, an authorized agent of the addressee, or the parent and guardian. So it's really, making sure that the proper person gets that. And the certificate of mailing provides evidence that the item was actually mailed. So that's important as well. You also have, on top of your USPS, your United States Postal Service, you have private delivery services. And these could be private companies like FedEx, UPS, DHL, those types of things. They offer competitive prices and additional services as well. So some of the services they provide could be like pickup and delivery of medical specimens. They can transport medical records and documents, and then they can pick up and deliver the deposits to the bank. So those are some different things that you might use them for in your practice. So some companies have drivers who are bonded, professional, and trained. And then the ultimate goal for the healthcare facility is to utilize a mail or a carrier service that provides the most efficient service at the best price. So just like anything we're doing with inventory, it's best to shop around to see who is going to offer you the best prices and things along those lines and service. All right. So that was all about outgoing mail and things you have to know about outgoing mail. Now you do have tasks that deal with incoming mail and receiving mail. So mail can be picked up at the post office or it can be delivered directly to your healthcare facility, depending on where you are and the type of facility you have. So basically the provider receives all mail that is marked personal and correspondences from lawyers and accountants, things like that. Professional journals, pharmaceutical materials, and convention continuing education units should be given to the provider as well. Mail related to the patient is opened and dated by you guys. So if it's related to a patient's account, bills coming in, anything like that, that is what we deal with. We need to make sure that we open it and date it as well. So the bills are given to the provider, bills for the facility, if they are responsible for paying them. The medical assistant handles the magazines in the reception area, the supply shipments, and correspondences from insurance companies. The practice will have procedures on handling mail that is not addressed to a specific person. So if it's just addressed to the clinic and you're not really sure what it is, check your office policies and procedures, because that is the most proper way to handle things. So now we've talked about inventory today. We've talked about incoming and outgoing mail. Now we're going to talk about body mechanics, all right? And this is essential to us because we work in our desk most of the day, and it's good to be ergonomically correct in that situation. However, when we get up and we are lifting up boxes and we are doing inventories and things like that, it's important to have great body mechanics like that. And the Occupational Safety and Health Act, or OSHA, of 1970 requires that employers provide a workplace free of serious recognized hazards and that the employer must comply with OSHA standards. Improper lifting or lifting of items that are too heavy for the back or support are the main reasons for acute back injuries. Now what I mean by acute is it happens instantly. So you go to lift up a box, you do it improperly, you're trying to lift from your legs and lift up that box, and you hurt your back. That's an acute injury. Other reasons for back injuries could reaching and twisting and bending when lifting, bad body mechanics when lifting, pushing, pulling, or carrying items, and then poor footing or constrained posture while trying to lift. So those are all reasons why good body mechanics are essential. Little quick quiz here, guys. Look at these two pictures here, and which one has good lifting body mechanics? Who is doing it correctly? It's actually going to be A, shows the proper technique, okay, where they're bent at the knees, they are lifting more so with their legs, and with B here, they're going to be lifting more with their lower back, which is going to increase strain on there. So medical assistants need to protect themselves from bodily harm while lifting boxes and heavy equipment, and the best way to do that is to lift with your legs. So keeping that back fairly straight, bend down, pick up the box, lift with your legs. And you want to hold that package or that box or whatever you're doing, like I said here, like you see here, you want to hold it close to your body. Obviously A is the correct answer here. You want to hold that close to your body because that will put less pressure on your back as well. If you hold it down low or out wide, you're putting more strain on that lower back, and it's being detrimental to your health. The medical assistants need to protect themselves from bodily harms while carrying heavy bags and equipment, just like last time. So by utilizing proper body mechanics, okay, coordination and endurance will be increased, the risk of strain injury will be decreased, and proper body mechanics entails utilizing the appropriate groups of muscles and body movements to ensure that correct posture and body alignment. We just went over that, guys. The last two slides right there are essential to get at and to see. So if you look at table 1.4 on the on the top of page 191, you'll see the principles of proper body mechanics. I'm not going to read over all of this. I can assure you though that it will be on your exam for this chapter. So it's important to go over to the book and to read those. So in closing, let me get here. In closing, we need to perform our daily tasks competently and dependably, because a lot of what we do in the medical office will happen every day. So being able to do them competently and dependably is an essential thing. The patient, as always, is going to be your primary concern in the office. Anybody, whether they're on the phone or in the office, they are your primary concern. Other tasks, of course, you will have to get done throughout the day, but the patient is your primary concern. The medical assistant should make patients feel at ease and encouraged to follow up with the provider's treatment plans, and then all office duties play a role in the patient's health and well-being. So we are patient-centered, okay? We do patient-centered care, and even our office duties will help play a role in that. So when the provider sees that the medical assistant is competent in completing all small duties, he or she will be considered the person competent at completing more difficult tasks. So just because it might seem small and monotonous, all right, if you are dependable and competent in that, the provider will look at you for other more difficult and complex tasks as well down the road. Patient education. So be sure brochures and all printed materials are clean and presented attractively. All right, these materials must look professional and reflect a positive image of the provider and the facility. If it's written by staff, you need to make sure that it is edited carefully. The medical office must be very professional and competent. All right, you never want anybody walking in and being like, "Is this really a medical office? Are they in charge of taking care of my health?" And then, of course, use proper body mechanics at all times. Lift with your legs, keep that back fairly straight, and keep all heavy objects close to yourself as you're lifting. If anything's too heavy for you guys, obviously have somebody else help you with that as well, okay? So if you have legal and ethical issues, it's important to keep all copies of communication relating to patient care. That's for legal purposes, guys. If anytime they want to take us to court and sue you for malpractice or nonfeasance or misfeasance, whatever we talked about back in chapter 6 and 7 there, it's important to have all the documentation that we as professionals have done everything in our power to reach out to that person, and we can prove that in court if we keep all of our communication. If it's handwritten, it must be legible and easily read, and that's just common sense, guys. You just got to use professionalism all around. All right, and that will bring us to the end. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. If not, guys, keep up the good work, keep working hard, and we'll see you next lecture.